In Tools for Charts in the Presentation tab, we have a group of utilities, here grouped under the word axes, which will allow us to control some elements of the chart quite precisely, with a high level of detail. For example, in the drop-down menu axes, we see that we can refer to the main horizontal axis, to this horizontal axis, or to the main vertical axis. OK. In each of them, for we have several choices. For example, in the horizontal axis, we are going to tell it simply that we cannot put the axis. Of course, logically, here we give no information about the years. It is probably not the most suitable in this case. Rather, we will leave them as it was. Or we could even do it from left to right as is natural, but there are cases or data that I want to represent in reverse order, represent from right to left. Well, I would not have to change the data as they appear in my spreadsheet. Rather, I could simply tell it here to represent them from right to left. Well, it's not or does not seem to be the most suitable in this case. We can say that Excel has more or less guessed correctly as to what kind of representation I want. Some other choices that we would have for the main horizontal axis can be found here, and they might be from the, say, how the text is written, colors, shading, alignment, for example. For example, the angle is 0 degrees, but we could say no, we want it at 45. And this would be, for example, one option we might want to choose. There are all sorts of shading effects, styles, fills, etc., that we can use in the event that this chart that we were going to represent, we are not going to print it out on paper, but maybe post it on a website or something, and we want more attractive effects, right? The other axis, which may require some retouching, it is the main vertical axis, which, well, we can show it as it appears by default, which is what it is doing now. And we see that there is a very useful option, since, when we are dealing with very large numbers, as is the case here, where we are reaching as high as 3, 517, 0, etc., very large numbers, well, we might not want to represent exactly, put 500, 1000, 1500 here, but rather, for example, put only the thousands of euros. In this case, it is as easy as showing the thousand axis. That is, that this point, instead of being 1000 with all the zeros, will be 1000 without all the zeros. Right? This might also occur, or it is more important when we have numbers that are approaching or greater than the million mark. In this case, logically, for example, Spanish population such and such, 40 million, 44 million, 46 million. Well, logically, we are not going to want to have a significant figure and 7 zeros, rather we will want to use the millions format. Well, the other thing we could control in the main vertical axis primary. Well, there are scales that you can use in certain representations of a more scientific nature, such as the logarithmic scale, the million scale that we have just seen, or you can even give it a series of options, for example, that the number logically be represented without decimals. In this case, it does not seem reasonable to use decimals. And well, for some fill or effect, some have some shading. Any theme alignment in this case, like that the numbers are small, we would not need, and ultimately we have greater control. It has not listened to us regarding decimal places because we have not said exactly that we want 0. In this case, we put 0, and now it will surely listen to us, and 0, 1, 1, okay. Here we should have put a decimal, logically. Axis main vertical, 1 decimal place is correct definitively.
Accept.
Well, in essence, it is a question of seeing that, using the axis button, both the horizontal axis, vertical axis button, we can fully control both the visualization as well as to some extent its behavior in terms of the order, from right to left, from top to bottom, etc., or logarithmic representation or scaling. Well, in short, what we can do is to have a lot of options for improving the chart as much as we want.